I will be representing the state of New Jersey in today's case against Jordan Abrams.
Thank you.
Your Honor, my name is Joe D'Angelo, and I will also be representing the state of New Jersey in today's case versus Jordan Abrams.
Your Honor, my name is Soren Dunlinger, and I represent Jordan Abrams, defendant in today's case.
I'm Jack Singleton. I'll be representing Jordan Abrams in today's case.
Thank you. Opens?
Your Honor, we request a two-trial conference at this time.
It's black.
At this time, Your Honor, we would like to mark the affidavits of opposing counsel's witnesses in the order they appear in the witness statement with Jordan Abrams as P1, Remy Abrams as P2, and Jesse Ryan as P3.
Any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
We'd also like to remind the court that time stops for all objections. And we would like to ask for a verbal 1 minute as well as a verbal 30-second warning.
Okay, somebody, I'm gonna need a clock.
What time?
There's my timer over there. Do you hear that? Objection, stop the clock.
Yep.
And they need a verbal 1 minute.
Yep.
And you know the time, 4 minutes,
1 minute.
6 minutes,
4,
6,
7, and 8.
4, 6, 7, 8. Got it.
Yep.
And we would like to do the same thing as well, marking the prosecution's witnesses in the same order that they are in the statement. Kerry Kueller, his statement itself, we would like to mark D1A, and his interview with Jordan Abrams is D1B. And then following that, we'd like the statement of Lauren Lucas to be D2, and then Singer as D3.
Any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No.
We would simply like to remind the court that all exhibits are marked for identification purposes only and are not in evidence at this time.
Thank you. I'll wait for you to open it. Anything else?
No.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be good. That'd probably be good. Yes, Your Honor. Presuming the jury to be over here.
Are you ready?
Permission to proceed, Your Honor?
Please.
May it please the court, Your Honor, counsel, and you, members of the jury. My name is Joseph D'Angelo, and along with my co-counsel, Justin Rodriguez, we have the privilege of representing the state of New Jersey in today's case versus Jordan Abrams. Today you will hear a story that is centered around two people, one being Jordan Abrams, a military veteran, and the other, Chris Pavano, a local from Cranberry Shores. These two had a bit of a bad past. On one occasion, Jordan accused Chris and his friends of vandalism. And on a separate occasion, Chris pointed out in public that Jordan was not the sniper he portrayed himself to be. These two past events angered Jordan Abrams, and he needed revenge against Chris Pavano. Now, you may not be able to predict the future, but you certainly can prepare for it. And that's exactly what Jordan Abrams did on the months leading up to August 30th, 2013. Now, there are 5 charges in today's case: murder in the first degree, aggravated manslaughter in the first degree, reckless manslaughter in the second degree, possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose in the second degree, and failure to report a death in the fourth degree. Now keep these charges in mind as we go through the story on August 30th, 2013. On that particular day, Jordan Abrams, her 2 kids, and her mother chose to go down to their shore house in Cranberry Shores, well aware of the fact that they were not supposed to be there in the first place. No power, and a big red sticker on the front door signified that Jordan and her family were not legally allowed to be there in the first place. Yet they were there anyway. You will also hear today that 4 teens, Dorian Campbell, Gray Michaels, Lauren Lucas, and Chris Pavano, approached Jordan Abrams' home to go skirting inside of it. For those that don't know, skirting is simply when teens would enter a house just to have a good time, with no intent to hurt anyone inside. You will hear that as the teens accidentally broke the glass back door of Jordan Abrams' home, they were gunned down by Jordan Abrams. You will also hear today that Jordan Abrams made the conscious decision to grab her Glock 17, a handgun, from the dresser, as opposed to a taser, a less lethal option, which was right next to it. And that leads us to today's case, where the prosecution will call 3 witnesses. First being Mr. Lauren Lucas. Mr. Lucas will tell you that as he and his friends approached Miss Abrams' house, there were no lights on from what he could tell. and that once they entered, they simply had no time to escape, as Mr. Abrams had gunned them down. Next, you will hear from Detective Kerry Peeler, the first responder to the scene. Detective Peeler will first tell you that he was arriving because of a medical alert emergency and not a shooting. And that's because no one inside picked up the phone and dialed 911 to report the death of Chris Pavano. Finally, you will hear from Detective Jerry Singer. Detective Singer will come up for you today and tell you that he collected all of the relevant evidence on scene on the night of August 30th, and then used that relevant evidence to form his conclusions. The defense will also call 3 witnesses, but specifically Remy Abrams and Jordan Abrams will confirm for you today that there were no lights on and no verbal warning given to the teenagers prior to the shots going off. And that even after the shots were fired, nobody inside picked up that phone and dialed 911 to report the death of Chris Pavano. Now, the burden of proof lies not with the defense in today's case, but rather with the prosecution. And we are confident that after hearing all of the facts presented today, that we will prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that Jordan Abrams is guilty. Thank you.
Thank you. Counsel,
Your Honor, permission to proceed.
please.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I am Jack Singleton, and I am here with my co-counsel Soren Denlinger, representing Jordan Abrams. Today, we will learn about the story of a loving mother, a mother who has served for our beloved country in the United States Air Force for 7 years. Jordan Abrams fights for what she loves, including the United States of America. But if there's one thing that Jordan loves more than her country, it's her family. Jordan has been through a lot in her life. She lost her husband to cancer 6 years ago, and her home was stripped from her by the devastating Hurricane Sandy. Jordan's home is located in Cranberry Shores, but after it was damaged, she had to stay in a hotel with her family just to keep them safe. Jordan's 2 daughters, Remy and Jada, her mother Candace, and her home are all she has left, and she would do anything to ensure that they are safe and protected. After a year of renovation on the home, it was finally ready for use, and on Friday, August 30th, 2013, the Abrams stayed in their home in order to enjoy a peaceful night after having been away for so long. However, this night became uneasy for them. After returning to the home and making sure her children and her mother were fed, tucked in, and ready for bed, Jordan went to sleep just like every other night. After hearing glass break, Jordan decided to check on her family to make sure they were all safe. They were all resting peacefully, so Jordan tried to go back to bed. Now you, the jury, imagine yourself laying in bed when all of a sudden you hear a terrored scream come from your mother downstairs. Picture yourself hearing the words of your mother yell, "Please, don't hurt me." Most of us, just like Jordan, would rush out of bed and grab whatever weapon we could in order to make sure our mother is safe. As Jordan went to check on her mother, she saw 4 strangers intruding inside of her home, and one of them was lurking towards her mother with what she had to assume was a rifle. Jordan, seeing that her mother was in obvious danger, knew that she had to take down the intruder, so she shot her Glock 17, saving her mother from harm. Jordan's courage and fast action proved that she had justification for her actions because she was only trying to keep her mother out of danger. Picture yourself watching a stranger with a weapon in your home approach your helpless mother while 3 other strangers watched. Jordan's mother was sobbing for her life. She was pleading with the intruders by throwing her hands up in the air and crying out. There was only one way Jordan could have reacted, and that was firing the shot into the intruder. After further inspection, the intruder that was shot was Chris Pavano. The 4 individuals inside of the home were trespassing, and they all had a history of doing such criminal activity. You, the jury, are here today to make a decision that will affect Jordan Abrams and her family for the rest of their lives. Today, the burden of proof relies on prosecution. They will fail to prove to you that Jordan Abrams' actions were beyond reasonable doubt were malicious and targeting Chris Pavano. Jordan Abrams' actions were forced by the need to protect her family and, most importantly, her mother, Candace. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, counsel. First witness.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the prosecution would like to call Mr. Lauren Lucas to the stand. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Lucas, you can consider yourself sworn.
Permission to proceed, Your Honor?
Please.
Can you please introduce yourself to the court?
Yeah, I'm Lauren Lucas. I'm currently 19 and I was a buddy of Chris's.
Who is Chris?
Chris was a best friend of mine.
Mr. Lucas, allow me to direct you to the evening of August 30th, 2013. Do you remember what you were doing on this day?
Yeah, I was hanging out with some friends on the beach. It was a while ago.
What were you and your friends doing specifically?
I remember it was late in the summer, again, August. So at this point we were kind of out of money. We were broke and nobody really wanted to go to the boardwalk. And it's kind of when we decided to go skirting.
What is skirting?
After Hurricane Sandy, a lot of the houses, specifically on the outskirts of town, were pretty moshed up, pretty pitted. They were abandoned, most of them. So they were places where we could go out, hang out, and be the local teens we were.
So how did you go about picking a house for skirting?
Well, we had this scout, Dorian, for our group. That was her nickname. She picked houses to partify and just places where we could go.
So did you ever pick a house on the evening of August 30th to enter?
Yeah, Abrams Sandcastle,
What is Abrams Sandcastle?
the Abrams residence.
How did you pick the Abrams residence?
I think Dorian said that the electric box was broken. That's all I
Objection,
remember.
Your Honor. I believe the witness is saying hearsay.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor. We believe that this is not being offered for the truth of the matter, but rather the effect on the listener. As the testimony, or as the words from Ms. Gray were stated, it simply led Lauren Lucas and his friends to enter the house of Jordan Abrams that evening.
Any response?
Your Honor, I believe Gray is not here to testify, therefore we cannot take her word.
I'm going to overrule it. Proceed.
Please finish with your answer.
Again, I think the electric box is broken. At least that's what Dorian said. And that gave us the reason to go over there because she said they weren't going to move back in, I think.
So, after you found this out, what was your next move that evening?
Well, we left the beach. We took everything with us. I think it took us about 15 minutes to get there, but we made it.
When you arrived, what was the first thing that you and your friends did?
We went around back and we knocked.
Why did you knock?
It was a huge precaution we took. We never wanted to get caught. You know, one time, I remember we did actually get caught, and I used some story about my chihuahua.
Objection, Your Honor. I believe this is becoming a narrative.
Sustained.
Thank you.
I'll break it up, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So after knocking, what was the next thing that you did?
I remember Gray was cold. He wasn't wearing a sweatshirt. He started grabbing the door handle. It didn't budge like we thought it would. That's when Chris grabbed the broom handle and tried to budge the lock, and it didn't work. I think he unintentionally and accidentally broke the glass of the door.
What happened after he did that?
I was freaked out. I remember Dorian and Gray were kind of laughing. They thought it was funny. This is when we heard a voice from inside.
And what did you do upon hearing this voice?
Well, I remember I thought the voice sounded like other skirters. Everybody else kind of thought the voice sounded scared. We all kind of piled in.
After you entered, what was going on inside?
It was pretty dark. Remember there was a reading light, but you still couldn't see too well. That's when Gray went up to the light switch, I think. Again, it was pretty dark, and it was kind of too late at that point. All I heard was green light from upstairs, and then bang, a gunshot. Chris was down.
What happened after this gunshot, Mr. Lucas?
I was freaked out. Never had we actually been in a house where somebody was. Whoever it was, the shooter, started moving down the stairs, fired another warning shot. The closer the shooter got, I recognized it as Miss Jordan Abrams.
What did Miss Jordan Abrams do next?
I think around this time the lights went on. Remy or Jada must have turned them on, at least I think. That's when Miss Jordan Abrams pointed the gun at us. She told us to kneel on the ground and gave us commands that the police were going to be notified.
And did you comply with what she said?
Of course. She was the one holding the gun.
What immediately happened after that?
I remember she went to the bathroom. It was kind of weird. She was yelling at Jada over something. It was all really weird.
After she went to the bathroom. Did anything else happen that evening?
Yeah, she came out of the bathroom holding the gun that she shot Chris with still, with a backpack slung over her shoulder. She started ordering her 2 kids to the door. It was weird.
Did anything else happen that evening?
Yeah, they were met at the door by Detective Peeler.
So is this the end of your night, Mr. Lucas?
No, by far no. Peeler asked me a lot of questions. It was late, too.
What were these questions about?
A lot about what we were doing and why we were there and about our experience with Jordan Abrams from the past.
What else happened in this interview?
I said a lot of things I regret.
What do you mean by this?
Well, I told Peeler, since he told me if I talked, he'd give me the deferred disposition, that it was all Chris's idea in the first place, that Chris lied, Chris brought us there, that Chris had been skirting before, and the door was already broken before that, and things like that. All not true.
Did anything else happen in that interview?
That was really it. He gave me the deferred disposition.
Did you know what a deferred disposition was?
Yeah, Peeler explained it to me. Either that or I had counseling, but he got me the deferred disposition, which is 12 months out of trouble.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examine,
Yes, Your Honor. Motion to proceed?
please.
Thank you. Is this your first time testifying in court today, Mr. Lucas?
Yeah.
And it would be safe to say these events could be a little scary, isn't that correct?
My best friend got shot.
So that's a yes?
Yeah.
Thank you. You say in direct, or you say in your statement, that you party in dozens of houses. Isn't that correct?
Skirting, yeah.
And in your interview with Detective Peeler, you say this was your first time breaking into someone's house. Isn't that correct?
In my interview, yeah.
So you said the opposite of... You contradicted yourself. Isn't that correct?
As I said on direct, I said a lot of things I regret to Peeler.
So that's a yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. You say in your statement that you guys don't make a mess of houses. Isn't that correct?
We wouldn't be allowed back in the house if we did.
So that's a yes.
Right.
Okay. So in your interview, you say... in your interview with Detective Peeler, you say that you and your friends like to leave a few beer bottles and a thank you note. Isn't that correct?
Well, in my interview, I actually said Chris did that, because I said I'd never been skirting before. Again, I said a lot of things I regret to Peeler.
So you did leave... So Chris would leave beer bottles and a thank you note. Isn't that correct?
No, he had never been skirting before.
But you just said this was Chris... Chris was the one who did this.
That's what I said in my interview.
So you just told the opposite to the jury?
No, I said in my interview that Chris would do these things, but
Okay.
that's false.
And in your statement, you say when you went to break into Mr. Abrams' home, Chris broke the glass. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, he smashed that thing.
And in your interview, you said the glass was already broken. Isn't that correct?
I mean, Chris broke it either way, though.
So that's a yes.
Right.
Okay. And you say Chris had the broomstick when he entered the family room. Isn't that correct?
I think so. Again, it was pretty dark.
So that's a yes.
From what I can remember, yeah.
So isn't it possible that that stick could have been pointed at Mrs. Abrams, Candace Abrams?
No, actually, from the snippet I saw of him, again, it was pretty dark. He was holding like a walking cane. It looked pretty cool. He looked like a pioneer.
It was pretty dark, right?
Yeah, it was.
So it was hard to see who was in the room that night, correct?
Yeah.
So when were you able to tell it was Candace Abrams?
I wasn't really able to tell it was Candace Abrams.
So you
Till
admit
after.
that it was hard to see someone in this room, isn't it correct?
Yeah, it was dark.
Thank you. You say you decided to go to the house around 10 o'clock, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you say it took you 15 minutes to get to the house, isn't that correct? Your Honor, I believe the witness is being unresponsive.
Your Honor, I do believe that the witness is recalling the timeline of the events that happened, again, 2 years ago.
In fairness, the witness testified 15 minutes on direct. That was less than 10 minutes ago. Answer the question, please.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And you say in your statement that Dorian opens the door, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Did Chris assist in opening that door too?
I don't think so. I mean, he broke the glass, but
So therefore he did assist in opening that door, isn't that correct?
he broke the glass. It's not really opening the
And
door.
you guys were trespassing, isn't that correct?
Were we?
You were going into someone else's home, you were trespassing, correct?
We were going into somebody else's home, yeah.
So that's trespassing, correct?
I guess so.
Thank you. In your statement, you say you were down on your knees while police were being notified, isn't that correct?
Mr. Abrams pointed a gun at me, yeah.
So you thought police were being notified, isn't that correct?
I was told police were being notified.
But you were aware, isn't that correct?
I was told.
Thank you. In your statement, you say it struck you strange when you heard Ms. Abrams say, "Don't flirt with me." Isn't that correct?
Yeah. Why would she say that?
And can't this sound close to please don't hurt me? Isn't that correct?
Objection, speculation, Your Honor.
Response?
Your Honor, I believe the witness was at the scene and they found it strange, so what they heard, so therefore he could have heard the wrong.
Mrs. Cross, I'm going to allow it.
Thank you.
Question, please.
So isn't it possible that "don't flirt with me" can sound like "please don't hurt me"?
No, I'm pretty sure I heard don't flirt with me.
Thank you.
Objection, Your Honor. Attorney testifying.
Response?
I'll withdraw my question. You say gunshot 1 was at the top of the stairs, correct?
Yeah.
And gunshot 2 was midway down the stairs. Isn't that correct?
From what I can remember, yeah.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Lucas,
Objection, Your Honor. Attorney testifying once again.
Response?
Your Honor, I believe the witness was there and would know where the gunshots were.
Overrule the objection.
Thank you. Mr. Lucas, you broke into someone's home that night, weren't you? You were breaking into someone's home?
That was what skirting was, right?
Yes. Okay. So breaking into someone's home is a crime, isn't that true?
I guess so.
And as you said on direct, you heard Detective Peeler tell you that if you were an adult, this would have been a felony, isn't this correct?
If I was an adult.
And even as a juvenile, you could have been facing some pretty serious consequences, isn't that correct?
Apology letter, book report.
And isn't it also true that Detective Peeler said that she would talk to the prosecutor's office for you, isn't that correct?
He.
He, yes.
Can you repeat the question?
1 minute.
It is also true that Detective Peeler said he would talk to the prosecutor's office for you, isn't that correct?